So I've spent over $5,000 on books and courses to advance my career in project management. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the best resources so you can land your next job as a project manager. So the very first thing is you have to invest into courses. If you want to accelerate and avoid all the frustrations and struggles that someone else has already done, then invest into courses from people who have already gone the path that you're trying to go through. The very first course that I truly recommend is called the Google Project Management Professional Certificate. I have personally watched and listened to all the videos in this program, and it's very top-notch and high quality. Now, don't just take my word for it. This course has over 2 million people who've already enrolled in the platform. And check this out. It has a star rating of 4.9 out of 5. And there's 122,146 reviews on this program. What does that tell you? It's very high quality. A lot of people have taken it. So what are you waiting for? If you're debating if you want to land an entry-level project management job, this is the program to take. And I'll leave links in the description bar down below so you know exactly which course you should take. And the best thing about this is the videos are very digestible. There's homework assignments and lessons that you can go through every single day. And if you stick with it, you can finish it anywhere from 1 to 3 months. And after you complete the entire program, you can then obtain a professional certificate that will enhance your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Just to give you an idea of what's covered here, you have foundations of project management. Then it goes into the different phases of a project. That way you're understanding everything from cradle to grave with what it takes to start a project, go through planning, go through executing, leading a team, managing the project, understanding how to track and analyze progress, right? The schedule, the cost, the budget, managing risks, and then closing it all out. And then at the very end of it, you have a capstone where you can apply what you've learned to real world scenarios. And here's an example of why I think that it's actually very, very useful. If we take a look at the building a project plan lesson, it goes deep here, right? You have introduction on how to build a project plan, the components of a project plan, capacity planning and the critical path. And then there's even insights from other people who are project managers. So in this case, you have a case study for run fast, pay later. Then you have someone speaking. And this person, his name is Angel. So the value of interpersonal skills with estimation. So I'm already a project manager. I have many years from engineering to project management. But when I went through these lessons, I'm like, this is exactly what I wish I had when I was trying to figure out if I wanted to go down the project management path. It's all inside this program. And the other cool thing about this program is it includes a capstone where you can apply what you learned to the real world. But not only that, it includes dedicated lessons on how to use AI with managing your projects and the job search. So on the right side of my slide here, you see accelerate your job search with AI. So uncover your transferable skills with AI, plan your job search with AI, master your job application with AI, prepare and practice for interviews with AI. My friend, this program literally has everything you need, not just to learn project management, but also to get the leg up when you're trying to apply for jobs, because now you're using AI, which if you're not using, you might be on the losing side of things. So definitely take advantage of it. And for me, I highly recommend that you use Coursera Plus, because then you can get a certificate at the very end of it. And you can do a month-to-month option, which is extremely affordable given the value that you're getting out of this program, or you can do it for the entire year. And if you do the entire year, then I highly recommend picking and choosing the Coursera programs so you can get at least 3 to 5 certificates in the next year. Is that making sense? And if the Google program is something that you're currently pursuing or is something that you're interested in pursuing, drop me a comment and let me know in the comment section down below. The next course that I highly recommend is the IBM IT Project Manager Professional Certificate. Why do I recommend this? Because while the Google Project Management program is more specific on the general side of project management, this IBM IT Project Manager program has more lessons on IT and software development so you can get your feet wet and understanding the nuances of what a software is, how to develop a software, or just some of the fundamentals that you wouldn't get if you just went through the Google program. Now, there have been over 39,000 students who have already enrolled in this. You can finish it in less than 3 months. There's a total of 11 courses, and just like the other one, this has a very high rating of 4.8 stars out of 5, and there's more than 1,000 reviews. So that already tells you that it's a very high quality class or a high quality program. And plus, just like Google, IBM is a very well-known company that you can put on your resume to stand out. So just as a quick glimpse, this is an example of what you'll see. So introduction, project management foundations, communication, stakeholders, leadership, IT fundamentals for everyone, right? That's the biggest differentiator here. Introduction to software engineering, introduction to agile development, and Scrum Master Profession, right? And then it includes 2 capstones or 2 modules on preparing for the CAPM certification, and then your job search, resume, interview prep. I mean, if you just had this course plus the other one alone, I mean, your resume will be packed and you'll know so many skills and strategies that you can then apply to not just in your day-to-day work right now in whatever role you're doing, but it will set you up for success so you can land your next project manager job. If it's in IT, if it's in the tech industry, or maybe it's in a different industry like construction, aerospace, manufacturing, aviation, whatever it is, I do believe that these 2 programs will get you there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 specific courses that will help you gain a competitive edge. So if you do land an interview for an IT project management role, you're not going to fill the interview and you'll actually be set up for success when you have to talk to your colleagues and lead IT projects. So in this example, you're understanding the fundamentals of information technology language. So what's networking? What's storage? What is cloud computing? What is a database? What is the difference between a hardware and operating system? If you don't know what that is, you definitely want to take this program. And then you have software engineering. If you're trying to get a Scrum Master role or IT project manager role or a program manager that deals with cloud computing or cybersecurity, you absolutely need to know the basics of software engineering. So programming, architecture, designing, patterns, etc. This is just the bare minimum that you need to know, because let's face it, you're going to be asked questions, could be technical, could be situational based on your interviews. And if you can't answer basic questions about an algorithm or like a storage or a networking question, you might have trouble actually landing the next interview and even getting the final job offer. So in total here, as I mentioned before, this is very similar to the Google Project Management Program, but it goes a little bit deeper because it gives you the fundamentals with IT and software engineering. Plus, you can get that certificate that you add to your resume to showcase the brand of IBM and Google. Is that making sense to you so far? By the way, I want to help you out. If you're trying to land your next project manager job this year, make sure you download my free resume template at alvinthepm.com/resume template. This is the exact resume template that I've used to land multiple 6-figure project manager jobs. It's completely free because I want you to earn the income that you deserve. So go ahead, download my free project manager resume template at alvinthepm.com/resume template. Now, we've talked about courses. The next best investment that you can make into yourself is books. And we're going to divide this into 4 key areas: project management, communication, leadership, and charisma. This is based on my own experience of what I've used to excel in my career as a project manager, and I'm transferring this over to you so that you don't have to spend weeks researching what book should I read? How do I understand the bare minimum in leading projects? How do I be a better communicator, a leader? How do I show charisma, and how do I be a leader even though I'm introverted? Those are all questions that I had when I was getting started, but these books will get you through the finish line that much faster. The first one is tied to project management, and the book I recommend is Project Management for the Unofficial Project Manager. True story, this was the first project management book that I purchased when I was working as an engineer. At that time, I didn't even know what it meant to lead and manage a project. And I saw this book and I thought, I need to get this because I had already spoken to other project managers, portfolio managers, and I thought to myself, they make really good income and they're leading projects. They're in a leadership role. They're making an impact on the team. Everyone is looking up to them and they seem to have an impact and an influence on the actual company. And at the time when I was working as an engineer, although I was doing meaningful work, I definitely wanted the impact and the influence that the portfolio or the project manager had. And I envisioned myself as an engineering project manager and even, like a project manager or program manager role. And so I thought I should just spend the money and invest into myself so I can learn the bare basics. This book is what will get you started in leading and managing projects. It teaches you many of the foundational concepts like how to manage a project scope, how to identify and manage risks, how to create a work breakdown structure, how to manage a schedule and identify the critical path and look at the dependencies in the schedule. So if you're a complete beginner or maybe you need a refresher, this is the perfect book to get into. The next book has been my Bible for at least the past few years. And this was the second book in project management that I purchased when I was also working as an engineer. And why? Because at that time, I was considering a pivot from senior engineer to project manager. And I wanted a deeper glimpse into more of the technicalities of how to manage a project from start to finish. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of resources like there is today. There wasn't ChatGPT, there wasn't AI, and books that I wanted to buy, I had to use Amazon or go to my local library. And courses, if I wanted to invest into a course, I had to go through the university, and that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, which I did. And alongside that, I also invested into books because I wanted to improve myself. There's nothing better to improve your own education by investing into yourself. A book, it's like getting the shortcut to success by learning from someone who's 20 years ahead of you, or 20 years ahead of you, or 30 years ahead of you. A book, let's say it costs you $15. You're getting that shortcut to what they've learned, and they package it into 100, 200, or 300 pages. So this book, the Fast Forward MBA in Project Management, it's sort of like a thick book, but it served the cornerstone for how I led and managed my projects. It breaks down the concepts in very easy to understand language that anyone can understand. And again, this was the referencing that I referred to when I was starting my job as an engineer and eventually into an engineering project manager role, because there's a lot that the previous book I talked about didn't go in depth, but this one goes much more in depth. And I think that it will be incredibly valuable to you when you start out as an entry-level PM and then advance into mid-level and senior level roles. The next book is going to be tied more to communication. As project managers, you need to be very well versed in how to communicate to other people who work below you, people at the same level as you, people who are senior managers, directors, and even VPs, vice presidents. I have had to be in meetings where I have to communicate randomly, quite literally, to senior directors and vice presidents when I felt like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I talking to this vice president when I'm just managing a project, right? That was the feeling I had in my first year as a project manager. I had to speak to different people in the company at different levels. And there were times where I felt like an imposter. But this book will teach you some communication scripts so that you can navigate the very tough conversations where the stakes are high. You're trying to negotiate a very big purchase order with a vendor, or maybe you're trying to navigate conflict resolution with a team member, and they're very hard-headed and they just won't get their work done. I've dealt with that. It sucks, but the key to navigating through it is learning how to communicate. This book, Crucial Conversations, will teach you how to use productive dialogue that doesn't just scream as being hurtful or pushy or screaming at other people and yelling at everyone. You'll learn how to use professional language to communicate your point across, right? And true story, at my first engineering job, man, I got cussed out a lot as an engineer by technicians because I didn't know what they were talking about. And it was my first job, so I never had experienced profanity on the job. I was scared and I didn't know how to communicate effectively. But this book will teach you how to be a more effective communicator. And I personally have read this at least 2 to 3 times. The next book is so good that you need to read this ASAP. This is a book by the author named Chris Voss, who is a former FBI hostage negotiator. I mean, you can't get any better than learning from someone from the FBI who had to negotiate getting these people outside of foreign countries and helping them escape, being in hostage situations. The storytelling that he does is just amazing. And the strategies and the tactics that he teaches you is incredible. And I've used almost every single one of his strategies, from the late night FM DJ voice, which by the way is helpful when you're on a call, could be on Teams, and you have your headphones on and you're trying to talk to the vendor. You could just say, "Hey everyone." Sorry, not like that, but you try to be in a much more deeper voice where you try to communicate that you're in a more calmer base here. Then you can do mirroring, where you mirror exactly the words that the other person said, and then you can label what the other person communicated, and then you can ask calibrated questions. These core strategies helped me be a better communicator and negotiator as a project manager. And this is the other book I highly recommend to up-level your skills in communication. Now, as a project manager, we have to be good at leadership. If you're managing a project, there's going to be people around you, and you can't lead a project to success if you don't have any leadership skills. And the very first leadership book that I ever read was by Jocko Willink, and the book was called Extreme Ownership. And the storytelling, if you're into military war stories, this is the book for you, because you learn how to embrace the ownership mindset and instilling that into the people on your team. It basically embraces this core idea that leadership is about taking responsibility over your actions and not blaming other people, right? I used to think that the project failed because it was this person's fault. No, take ownership of the success and the non-successes of the work that you're doing. If it's because someone lagged on your team, well, maybe it's because you didn't communicate effectively to your team. Could you have been more persuasive? Could you have spoken to that person ahead of time? Could you have that one-on-one with that person so they could have aligned expectations with you? There's so many things that you can do from a leadership standpoint so you don't place the blame on other people. This to me screams that this book gives you that direct, no-nonsense approach on how to be a leader that you can apply to immediately. The next book is something that I highly recommend, and I'm a true fan of the author, John C. Maxwell. This book in of itself has sold over 4 million copies. 4 million, which is a lot. So when I found out that it was an all-time bestseller, it was selling more than 4 million copies, I had to grab it. And plus, many of the leaders that I've worked with actually recommended reading this book. And the way that I read it is I read one chapter every single day. And each chapter is tied to one leadership law. So in a way, as you're reading this over the next month, it's like you're getting mentored by someone who's already a leader. So every day you're learning one new leadership law every single day that will help you improve yourself as a leader. One of my favorite laws is law number 6, the law of solid ground. Character makes trust possible, and trust makes leadership possible. And I've had to learn this the hard way. Just because you have the title as project manager doesn't mean that people will trust you. You have to build your character and show to the team that they can trust in you. Because once you break that trust, how can they trust in your character, right? So do everything you can to build your character and to build a trust with the people around you. Because once you have those two elements, they will believe and follow you as a leader. The other great book in leadership is by the author, none other than Patrick Lencioni. This is a perfect book if you're leading projects and you have to manage a team. This one is called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and you learn the 5 dysfunctions. So absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, inattention to results. When I was working my first project manager job, I learned about these 5 dysfunctions the hard way. But when you read through this book, you will learn about what they are and why you will experience them, and the strategies that you can use to navigate through these different scenarios. You're going to experience people who don't commit to getting their work done. You tell them that the work is done by next Friday. Guess what? They're not going to get it done by next Friday. People tell you that they'll get it done by Monday. You have to hold them accountable to get their work done, even though they don't report up to you. How do you make people be more attentive to their results? Well, you have to instill trust into the team and drive accountability, not just with that one person, but with everyone else on the team. This book will give you the foundations so you can navigate the team dynamics. And of course, to be a project manager, you also want to have some kind of charisma. You don't want to be a plain old vanilla project manager who is like a yes person who says yes to everything that your director or your manager tells you what to do, right? Don't be that person. Instead, be someone who can read a room, be someone who can embrace the fun in the day-to-day work. Don't be someone who's a paper pusher or someone who just schedules meetings on the calendar, right? Be someone who can read a room, form relationships with other people, who can strike a conversation and just make people want to work with you. If there's anything I've learned as a project manager, people want to work with people who are nice people. Sounds obvious, right? So to build up that nice attitude or to be more charismatic, these are the two books that I highly recommend that you read ASAP. And they're by the author, Vanessa Van Edwards, Captivate and Cues. And the way I like to see this is they're the modern versions with real tactical strategies that are similar to Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. So read these two books now. You'll learn how to be a better communicator. You'll learn how to deal with people of complex, challenging personalities. In fact, there was a time where I had to work with the most challenging person who, at the surface, it felt like he hated me. And so every time I had to talk to him or get him to show up to meetings, it felt like I was tearing teeth out of his face because he was such a pain in the butt to work with. Have you ever experienced that before? But when you learn how to decode or to decode someone's personality, you learn, what does this person prefer? How can you at least engage him in a way that he won't be so antagonistic towards you, right? In any job you work at, you will always find people who will absolutely dislike you or who hate working with you. Even though I may come across as nice and the most friendliest person, there are still people out in the workforce who don't like working with me. And they may seem like that, but you have to be able to still navigate their personalities because at the end of the day, you have to lead the team to get the work done. You know, if you have a team of 10 people, right? 10 people, and one person is the most sour person out of that team, you still have to be able to persuade and influence that person. If you have to speak to that manager of that person to get their work done, then that's what you have to do. But another secret code to doing that is by learning that person's personality, what gets him ticked off. What does he like? What doesn't he like? Learn how to get to the inside of this personality and his core traits. And you can learn how to do that from a lot of the techniques that Vanessa Van Edwards reveals in Captivate, as well as with Cues. And finally, I have a bonus book for you, and it's called Making Things Happen, Mastering Project Management by Scott Berkun. And this was also the third project management book that I purchased when I was transitioning from senior engineer to engineering project management role. I got this book because when I read the back cover, I found out that Scott, the author, was a program manager at Microsoft. I truly believe that this book is probably a hidden gem that almost not too many people talk about. And that's why I'm bringing it up to you. I, at that time, wanted to learn from someone who's done the work before, and there's no one better to learn from than someone who's been an actual program manager at Microsoft. Combine those two things together, and you'll get a lot of advice on how to lead teams, manage projects in a software-based company, none other than Microsoft. It's very fun to read, very easy to read. Every issue that he's talked about, I've learned, and I've even adapted it to my own work style and how I've had to lead my own teams. So I highly, highly recommend this book. If you're still navigating the waters as a project manager, you definitely can't go wrong with this one. And I do believe that this is a hidden gem that not too many people talk about that I think will accelerate your path to success as a project manager. Now, if you want to learn the exact steps to land your next job as a project manager so you can earn the income that you deserve, please watch this video next, and I'll see you in the next video.